safer in the road, if anything. Yeah. Go!
Combat is a world of its own, and today I'm going to share what surprised me about going into combat. The first one, you are not as brave as you think you are. It's easy to imagine yourself in combat. I do this all the time, wonder how I'd react in a certain scenario like trench combat. Never done it, but you have no idea how your mind is going to fight for your self-preservation. This is innate in our DNA to survive. It is something you can only unlock in your DNA having been through a life or death scenario. You will never know how you'll react. You will never know if you'll be the hero. The chaos. The chaos is overwhelming. Movies, video games, and even legitimate military training portrays combat with a sort of rhythm. There is no rhythm in combat. You can't predict what's going to happen next. Anything could happen. The sounds, the smells, the sights, they're all going to be disorienting. You're processing information constantly, trying to make sense of a situation that doesn't make sense at all. Time dilation. After every combat scenario, I recommend you check your watch. Understand how long that firefight or that mission lasted. It's probably not as long as you think. Minutes will feel like they went by for hours. This is just your mind processing every little bit of information that's coming in, and your brain understands this as a lot of time passing by. It's impossible for all these sights and sounds and the adrenaline to happen in just 3 minutes. Well, it is possible. The sounds of combat it's different than training. There's a distinct sound for outgoing shells versus incoming shells, and you can't get the incoming rounds or shells anywhere near you when you're in training. The sounds will stick with you as well. If you hear a loud noise back home, your brain will go back to that fight or flight response, and you will react to it, especially the first couple months off of a deployment. The background noise, the screams or yells, the commands being shouted, the sounds of equipment like tanks rolling by, the whistling of rounds passing by, this is something you can only understand when you've been through it. That is something that surprised me. Adrenaline doesn't always make you strong. Take a look at this Russian soldier who was killed in the field. Does it look like he was running for his life after his friend was killed right next to him by an FPV? By Veron CSG, by the way, the unit that I was just in. No, it doesn't. Having adrenaline doesn't make you a superhero. So the way that you train, that's how it's going to be in real life. You are going to feel sore. You're going to feel all the fatigue of battle, and nothing can change it except for being more prepared for next time. The importance of morale. In Shengal, our commanders openly prioritize this. I'm an American, so I know exactly what having no morale looks like in reality. My first time back home after 3 trips in Ukraine in 2 years was about a month ago. The American public does not care about Ukraine anymore. They have no morale. They have no skin in the game, and they just don't care. They don't care about fighting for freedom anymore. They looked at the prices of eggs and oil and said, I'm out. Well, that's morale. Your morale is shitty, so fix yourself. Your instincts will take over, but not always how you expect it will. We often hear about training kicking in, but combat isn't always following orders or running drills. Sometimes your instincts are going to push you to do things that aren't necessarily tactical or expected. You might feel a sudden need to protect those around you, even if it puts you in danger, or you might freeze momentarily. Something you can never train for, you can never expect. You just muscle memory. That's pretty much all you have. In combat, you're still gonna feel tired. When I would go to combat in Syria, Iraq, and Ukraine, I thought the adrenaline and the seriousness of it all would make me push through the pain and soreness. It doesn't. You get just as tired in combat as you do in training. The camaraderie you get is like no other. Of course, you can get camaraderie from anything important that you do with somebody, in and out of combat. But have you ever read somebody's mind by staring into their eyes? You can see their pain, the mutual understanding of the seriousness of the situation. It's said that the eyes are the window to the soul, and that really only became apparent to me in combat. You can stare directly at somebody's soul. You might not feel the way that you think you will. There is no right way to feel in combat. Some people get scared, some people feel invincible, and others, I've been lucky enough to meet them, feel nothing. They feel nothing at all. It's common for people in combat to get emotional responses that don't line up with what they expected. Sometimes you laugh, sometimes you cry. Sometimes you feel like joking around and laughing. It's very confusing. You might think you'll feel terrified, but you'll actually feel calm. You can never predict this. And I've spoken about this in a couple points, but I think they're all valid. Fog of war. Fog of war is real. It's not something I was told about much in the Marine Corps. It was just a general unsaid understanding that led us to train the way we did. You might not know where your friendlies are, where the enemy is, or even what's going on 20 meters away from you. You have no idea. This lack of information leads to mistakes, not only in the individual self, but also the command, which only perpetrates a lot more confusion in the battle space. You have to rely on all of your instincts, all the muscle memory you train for, and go with the flow. Trust your training, and that's it. Every second in combat feels like it could be your last. With all the dangers, there's aircraft, drones, infantry, mines. Every step that you take could be your last for multiple different reasons. Maybe that step put you in view of a drone that then calls in jets, or a cluster bomb, or artillery. Or maybe you step on a mine that next step. Who knows? It's not just about the close immediate threat of gunfire explosions, but the constant growing sense that as the days go by, your number's gonna be called pretty soon. It changes the way that you think about life, your own and others. It gives you a deep understanding about how fragile this whole experience is, life. And the last one for you guys, you can learn to forgive, but it's gonna take some time. not only for yourself, but others as well. Combat is a series of split-second decisions that you'll question for the rest of your life, whether it's choosing to engage, not engage, or any scenario that led to a loss of life. The guilt will be overwhelming at first, but over time, as you develop and as you learn about yourself, you'll be able to get through it. You will. There's gonna be a lot of regrets, but time heals everything. I guess that's a little weird to go and put in a combat video, but I do want to mention it. That is a part of combat. A lot of people deal with these questions, and sometimes you just have to make the best decision in that moment. If it's right or wrong, it's split second nonetheless, and you gotta learn to forgive yourself and forgive others as well. So that's all I want to say today. This is what surprised me from combat. Thank you for listening. Peace. Welcome back, everybody. Got my buddy Zafar here today. He was in Syria for 26 months exactly. He got back about 2 months ago.
Yeah, on the 7th of January, so yeah, 2 months ago.
2 months ago, we met in the YPG International Unit. He was also a former Marine, like myself, but we're gonna begin with the obvious question, what is this? I already know what it is, but if you want to tell the story about it.
It's a lovely thing, I'm sure a few people from back over there I was with know what this is. But this is a wire-guided missile that Dash was using. It's actually got a serial number on the bottom of it. I'm really curious to finding out who manufactured and sold it. So yeah, the bottom of it, you can still see the serial number. So I'm probably going to bring that down to my town's local armory here at some point, just have them read off the serial number to see if they can find anything on it. But anyways, back in October, I want to say October 6th or October 9th, I'm a little hesitant the day.
2018?
Yes, 2018. Shahid Shaheen, French fighter that was with us, ended up dying from a wire-guided missile that had probably hit us from a good 500 meters out. I got both my eardrums perforated, which is why I got a lovely scar right here on the side of my head from where it hit me.
Well, yeah, so that's the story of the rocket. I don't know how you got this back from Syria.
Honestly, I just skipped right through the it's like people are always like, don't even have a little patch up yet together, this and that. And it's like, you know what, I'm American.
Bring a rocket.
No one gives a fuck about me. And sure enough, just put it under the plane in a box, and they're just like, whatever, it's a chunk of metal.
Whenever people ask me, how would I describe Syria? I always say it in one word, which is humbling. It's because of people like you, Rashid, Carker, like
Alan.
He's like on level of Carker.
Alan was in there 2015, 16 Men Beach.
Yeah.
He got f***ed up as well. Right?
Yeah, his leg. I mean, these people are incredibly humbling, and that's like, you go in there and, yeah. So, I mean, that's all I want to say to that. It's freaking crazy.
Majority of the reasons I only came back home was just to get back in shape for my 3 different injuries and all the weight. I do over there that I've kept waiting to get back, because up there that feels normal now. This doesn't to me.